as it pertains to wrestling, I question, why am I even here? Why am I even doing this? Why am I even putting in the effort? And ultimately, I always come back to, I'm going to come back here on YouTube. I'm going to come back on You Now and do a WWE Raw review, or a SmackDown review, or Impact review. But I only question myself when it comes to Monday nights, WWE Raw review. And last night was just the epitome of, I don't mean to be so negative, but it's just laziness. It feels like they literally took the script from last week's Monday Night Raw and said, okay, you know what? Don't throw that in the trash. Let's get this on the road and bring it to Philadelphia. It felt like the same Raw with only slight minor differences. And I just don't get it, because the same people that run Raw are the same people that run SmackDown. So in my jest of trying to figure out why do I feel so happy about SmackDown instead of Raw, it's not just that SmackDown is 2 hours and Raw is 3 hours, and watching some 3 hours can be a drag. It's just, it seems like much more effort is being put into the Blue brand as it is the Raw brand. So I watch Raw and it is just a drag. And like, even in the past couple of weeks, I haven't liked it. It's gone into the bad category as it pertains to good and the bad. But I've had some good things to say about Monday Night Raw recently. Not today. There were some redeeming qualities, but goodness, let's just hop right on into it. We started off with the Dogs of War. They were in the ring, felt like the same segment. They're in the ring, talking about their dominance again. Talking about how they're the best three-man faction again. I got into it about the World Cup, said that they were going to win it, said that they were the most dominant force or whatnot as pertains to the World Cup, that they were the best in the world. CM Punk needs to enter this World Cup. Chris Jericho needs to enter this World Cup to see who's really the best in the world. But that's beside the point. As the promo rolled on, I'm just sitting there like, okay, let's just get the Shield out here. It's the same thing. So Braun Strowman says he gets tired of them arguing with each other. He says, both of you guys better get the job done tonight or you're both going to get these hands. Now, he hasn't been saying that for the past however many weeks that he's been a heel. So right then and now, I was like, wait. So what, are we about to hear or whatnot? So he used catchphrase. So the Shield came down, and it's like, okay, here we are. They're without Dean Ambrose. And Dolph, Drew, and Braun point that out, that they may have gotten to Dean Ambrose, that Dean Ambrose has seen the light. And Seth said that Dean shows up on Lunatic Time. He will be here tonight. Reigns beat down Strowman at WWE Crown Jewel, and he will become, or will retain, the Universal Championship. And look, it was the same promo. It feels like I've been watching this promo ever since they got this feud started. Braun and Drew comes out and they say the same things, and the Shield comes out, they interrupt them and they say the same things, or they get involved and they start fighting. So I mean, this goes into the bad. Not because anything said was necessarily bad in execution. It's just that I'm tired of seeing the same thing, and like, it was nothing exciting. Even though it was the same thing, it was nothing really exciting or groundbreaking about the promo. So this one goes into the bad. It would normally go into the good. So next up, we had Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre for a spot into the World Cup. And like I said, same thing over and over again. But it was a phenomenal match. The reverse Alabama Slam from Drew McIntyre is just lethal. We had a spot in the match where Seth had the superplex, and Drew McIntyre turned it into a Falcon Arrow, not Seth Rollins. I thought that was pretty doggone interesting. And it was a great match. Ambrose came down. Seth Rollins hit the curb stomp on Drew McIntyre. and Seth Rollins would slide into the ring and he would win by countout. So, to be honest, I like the match. I like the fact that, okay, Seth won, but they protected Drew McIntyre. I like that much. So, this one goes into the good category for me. And I enjoyed it very much. They keep Ambrose involved. He showed up finally on Lunatic Time with his good timing there. And Seth picks up the victory. So this one definitely goes into the good category. However, afterward, the Shield was backstage. Seth called Dean a lunatic, and Dean took offense to it. So Dean is all mad and pushy now. You know, I'm only good for a joke, and he storms off. This goes into the bad category because they're really making Dean Ambrose look like a complete idiot. I have no interest in the heel turn. Screw it. Because Dean has to stand up for something. You can't just keep going both ways. Get off the fence. Get on one side of the fence. You just try to be on both sides. Stand up for something. You're either going to be mad or you're going to be happy with the Shield. So make a decision. After that, we had Kane and The Undertaker. They had a decent enough promo, but these are 50-year-old men. At what point am I supposed to get excited or get into this match where it's 50-year-old men going back at it, back and forth? Like, I love all of these guys. I really do. I love what they've brought to the game of professional wrestling. I really do. But it's 50-year-old guys taking up primetime spots, and it's just not interesting to me. They talked about respect. They talked about how they had 3 words for Triple H and Shawn Michaels, rest in peace. This actually goes into the bad category for me, believe it or not. It's for as much as I love myself some Undertaker. Love him. This one goes into the bad category for me. It's just, I just couldn't really get by with the promo. I didn't really get into the promo at all. So, after that, speaking of bad, we had Ember Moon and Nia Jax versus Dana Brooke and Tamina. And, like, the only note, and when I say the only, I mean the only noteworthy thing that happened in this match was Tamina hitting a Samoan drop on Nia Jax. That's it. And you know what? Also, speaking of bad, probably one of the biggest things that took me off, they announced the Battle Royal mid-match. And they just announced the competitors mid-match too. So, I went some time ago, I had a podcast where I said that the Evolution build would get caught up in the middle. Because WWE would look at the women, and that's what the event that would get caught up in the middle, not the one with the Universal title. Because that's just how WWE is. And sure enough, here we are. Evolution is getting caught up in the middle. You announced Battle Royal. You announced Tori Wilson in this Battle Royal, one of the more famous alumni of that era. She just gets announced mid-match. And some of the names in this match, just some of the notable names. I don't have all of them, but when you have Asuka in the Battle Royal, when you have Naomi in the Battle Royal, like, what are we doing? Asuka was just in a WrestleMania main event. I mean, and as I picked back up right here, Asuka was just in a WrestleMania main event. And, like, what is going on here? Like, it is just horribly done. The announcement of the Battle Royal was just horribly done. So, moving on. I mean, as for the match, Nia Jax, Ember Moon picks up the win with the Eclipse in the bad. Nothing about that match at all. They tried to do a segment afterwards to hype the Battle Royal, but the fans, they didn't even know about the Battle Royal mid-match. So, we got a segment to where Tamina and Ember Moon, quote-unquote, eliminated Nia Jax over the top rope, and Dana Brooke eliminated both of them over the top rope, and it was supposed to be this big segment, and the crowd was just completely lost by all of it. So that segment, the end of the segment, gets into the bad category as well. So, I mean, it's just tough, man. It's very tough. This show was just off to a horrendous start. And look, moving on, we had Ronda Rousey versus the Bellas. We had to have an explainment. Ronda Rousey wanted to know why the Bellas did what they did, and she wanted answers. Explain yourself, Hills. Explain yourselves. So the Bellas came down and talked about how they made the Diva division, how they started the revolution, how they made women's wrestling mean something. Obviously, Delirious Hills, to which, whatever. I guess in a heel turn, I have to have, this is just for me, I have to have solid reasoning as for why you turned heel. And their delusional stuff was good enough. They were jealous of Ronda Rousey, and it was decent enough, even though I have no interest in it whatsoever. Ronda responded with she hated the Divas, and she thought that she had Bella's friendship. And she talked about how the Bellas were only got to where they are because of their husbands. And at this point, I was like, oh man, we've seen this before. I found it more interesting when AJ Lee did it. She was the originator, and I found it much more interesting when she did it first. Talk about how Ronda Rousey talked about how the Bellas were desperate for attention, and we were at a point to where she also talked about how they stole their movesets, and it just sounded so scripted to me. But we got to a point to where Ronda Rousey talked about how the only door that Nikki is knocked down is John Cena's bedroom door, and how he kicked her out of that said bedroom door as well. That's when I was like, oh, wait a minute. Whoa, Ronda? Like, dang. Okay. And okay, that, you know, okay, that got me interested. And I was like, whoa, okay. But overall, I guess I'm going to put this into the good category because Ronda, she's coming along in her promos. Now, the Bellas had solid reasoning, solid delirious heel reasoning as to why they turned on Ronda Rousey. And the segment was good enough, even though it felt really scripted. The majority of Ronda Rousey's promo felt, it just, obviously all of the promos are scripted, but it's just some promos that feel scripted, and it's like, ah, man. And most of that felt really scripted, but the line about John Cena's bedroom, that was pretty cool. I liked it, and it is what it is. This one goes into the good category. I enjoyed it for the most part. It was solid at best. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily looking forward to the match, but it is what it is at this point. After that, Kurt Angle was just backstage, just in full Hawaiian gear, talking to Chad Gable and Bobby Roode, and he got into it with Baron Corbin, and Corbin says he arranged for a match tonight. Says it will be against the AOP. And as we would go on to later see, we would not have Kurt Angle in said match. So, next up we had Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler. Look, same match. How many times do I have to say this? Same match over again. Good action in this match. I like the action as it picked up. We had Seth and Drew come down for the interference. Drew came down for the interference. Seth came down for the save. But Seth somehow got into it with Dean Ambrose. Ambrose shoves Seth, and Ambrose gets back into the ring. Ziggler hits the super kick for the win. Look. Here we go again. Seth and Dean gets into it. We have a shoving match. They're into their faces. They're getting into it. We're about to go at it. Then Big Brother Roman comes down. The crowd boos, of course. He comes down. He breaks it all up. He calms them down. Look, like I said in the previous video, I said this last week. Last week I said that they were venturing into the overtease range to the point where the crowd wouldn't care about the Dean Ambrose heel turn. Now they are in the overtease range. Like, I just got finished. Ambrose has to stand up for something. He's standing up for nothing right now. He's mad and happy all at the same time. He's in the air right after the heel turn. So the match goes into the good category. The post match goes into the bad for me because I mean, it's whatever. They just do the heel turn already. You keep teasing us with it, just do it already. Next up, we had Jinder Mahal, and we went on an unprecedented run of bad stuff after this. We had Jinder Mahal versus Finn Balor, a squash match. This goes right into the bad category. Finn Balor wins the match, total squash match, and just no interest whatsoever for me in this. Finn Balor picked up the win. It was just like a match that filled time. After that, we had Bobby Lashley versus Tyler Breeze. The act with Leo Rush, I like it, but it's starting to feel like the same thing every week. That has just been the theme of Raw tonight, or it's the theme of Raw last night. Just the same thing every week. And this was a glorified squash as well. This one goes into the bad category. Nothing interesting whatsoever. Just a time filler match and into the bad. So after that, we had Lita and Trish come down. They got into it with Alexa Bliss, and Mickie James had a brain freeze right there. Alexa Bliss and Mickie James talking about how Trish and Lita hadn't been in the ring in a long time, and they wasn't going to just waltz up into Evolution and beat them. They talked about how they needed some practice, and then this just took a detour into something that could have been funny, was almost funny, but they just ran it into Allen Iverson practice joke. Trish and Lita went there. We were in Philadelphia. It was funny until it wasn't funny. So they just ran the ground, and that segment, it just felt like a long segment. It goes to the bad category. I just couldn't get interested into it whatsoever. Like, it was kind of funny for a little bit, but they just ran the joke into the ground. Alexa and Mickie James act like they would come down to ringside, but they did not. So, moving on here, we had the Conquistador versus the Artist of Pain. Obviously, it wasn't Kurt Angle. You can see from the start that it wasn't Kurt Angle. The Artist of Pain run through this guy. They get the win. Glorified squash match. They unmask the guy. It is not Kurt Angle. Surprise, surprise. Kurt Angle comes down. He hits the Angle Slam on Baron Corbin at the top of the ramp. So, after this, we had Natalya versus Ruby Riott. Natalya said that she had some friends come down with her. She brought down Bayley, and surprise, surprise, Sasha Banks is back. It's great to see her back. We had all of the rumors and whatnot, rumored injuries and other rumors, and it's just great to see Sasha Banks back, I will say that. But as for the match, it's a 2-minute match that really went nowhere. Before the match could even get going, the Riot Squad jumps in, and Bayley and Sasha jumps in, and we have a DQ, and we have a brew as Sasha, Natalya, and Bayley stood tall. Natty picked up the win with the DQ, but this match and this segment goes into the bad. So, man, this whole show nearly is going into the bad if you're not paying attention here. But after this, we had Elias come down, and look, Elias, same thing. He's trashing the city that he's in. Sometimes it's good. You know, it's when he trashes, he picks a sports team and he trashes the city, but it's the same thing. It's getting old. This week's interrupter was Apollo Crews. And Apollo Crews had some decent things to say. He said he's tired of sitting at the back of the line. He's tired of seeing people pass him up in the company. He's tired of seeing the lies pass him up in the company. It was a decent enough promo. Elias, they got into it. with Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews did a nice press slam on Elias. And you know what? This goes into the good category. This is like only the second thing to go in the good category tonight. Because I like if they're taking Apollo Crews somewhere, we're going to take him seriously. This is a good first step. So I'm looking forward to see where they go with Apollo Crews next. Last up, we had the main event of the night. Same thing as I've been saying over and over again. The Dogs of War versus the Shield. So it was a phenomenal match. We've seen the tension between Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman as Drew tagged himself in forcefully. Then Braun forcefully tagged himself in. The action picked up really well. We had a Claymore zigzag that was broken up. The pin was broken up by Ambrose and Rollins. The similar moment of this match was Ambrose looked like the heel turn was coming. Ambrose went for the dirty deeds on Seth Rollins, had him locked in, and it didn't happen. So, I mean, here we go again. Ambrose teasing. We're doing the tease with Ambrose. We're pulling it back. We're doing the tease. We're pulling it back, and it's just very annoying. At the end of the match, Roman hits the spear, and the match ends with the Shield bomb. And all of a sudden, Dean and Seth are friends again, just out of nowhere. And it was a phenomenal match. It goes to the good category. Only 3 things to the good category this week. But it's the same match. Like, it's just like I had a VHS tape. For those of you, I know that just went over some of the crowd, some of these young people say it. VHS tape. And I stuck it in the VCR, and I just watched the replay of last week. That's what it felt like. The only thing that changed this week was that Drew McIntyre hit Braun Strowman with the Claymore kick. He hit Braun Strowman earlier in the match with the Claymore kick as well, but it was on accident. This time it was for real because Braun was coming after Dolph and Drew. And Drew McIntyre came right back at Braun Strowman. And it looks like, if I'm going to say anything good about what's going on in this feud, we're going to get a Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman one-on-one match. That's going to be a good hoss battle. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to see where they go with that. We'll see how it all turns out. To be God honest, it should be Drew, Braun, and Roman at Crown Jewel for the title, not get Brock Lesnar up out of here. But I'm looking forward to see where it goes. As for Raw overall, it definitely goes into the bad category. Look, give me something new. Show me some effort, creative. Show me some effort like you do on Tuesday nights. Like I see clear effort on Tuesday nights. We get fresh matchups on Tuesday nights. We get fresh angles on Tuesday nights. The titles are not just caught up in one feud on Tuesday nights. Once I see some effort on Raw, I mean, I'll applaud it. Until then, I'll just continue to say that it's the same thing over and over again. Give me some effort. So, tell me what you think about Monday Night Raw, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Twitter at OMGCoreyB or at 2SweetsPOD. You can find me on YouNow as well at OMGCoreyB. So let me know what you thought about Monday Night Raw. Hit me up. Let me know. On that note, I am out.